This is part 3 of how we lost our baby boy Carter and our coping with everything. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you already know where we're going with this and like our story so far, make sure you give this video a thumbs up so we can continue on. So we left off at mommy getting ready to go into surgery. As she went in, basically I was in the room the whole time, just praying about everything, hoping that everything would turn out good.
As good as it can, because obviously the inevitable already happened.
Yes.
Which,
exactly.
Our baby was gone. Yeah. He was already in heaven.
Yeah.
His soul was with God at that point.
Yeah. So I was just hoping that my wife was okay and that everything with her turned out good, and that we got good news, at least placenta-wise. I mean, not placenta-wise, uterus-wise, and I was just hoping for good news because we already had so much bad news. But the best news would have been is that it's fine. She's alive.
Oh, thank God.
Finally, a nurse comes in about maybe an hour later. A nurse comes in and tells me that she does have an accreta. And when she told me that, I broke down. Not gonna lie, it wasn't the best news. I didn't feel happy about that. Not because of her not being able to have any more babies, but because of the risk that she was getting put on. And knowing what kind of surgery that meant that she was going to have. So they told me that, and I started to cry. I started to really break down and couldn't believe that we were actually going through all this, and why. Question God, like, why are we going through this? What can we do? What is the process? Lord, let this be okay. Let this be good. Let this be that everything turns out good, even though she has an accreta. I went back to sit down again, and the nurse left. And from there on, I didn't hear anything for like the next hour and a half, close to 2 hours. This whole time, I'm like nervous wreck, pacing back and forth. I sit down, I get on my knees actually, and pray even more. This was just a test for me, really, like my faith of being tested. And all I could do was pray. All I could hope for was the best. Finally, the doctor comes in and she tells me her accreta was bad. Like, it was really bad. And I'm like, okay, like, it's really bad news then. So as she's telling me, oh yeah, it was really bad. So I'm like, I got even more scared. Like, okay, so what are you telling me? Because I don't want to hear what you're gonna tell me next. She's like, yeah, the accreta was really bad. It was all over the place. It was really deep into her uterus. It was
into my cervix.
Into your cervix, yeah.
Well, I'm saying also.
Yes. Yeah. Into your uterus, into her cervix. So I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, I'm not hearing anything good.
Like, what are you saying?
Like, what are you saying? What are you telling me? And she's like, yeah, it was much worse than what I was expecting. Everyone told me that it was a little bit better than what I actually had to go through. And I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, why are you telling me this? Tell me the good news, please. Because if there's no good news, I don't even want to walk out of this hospital. And she's like, finally she tells me, but yeah, she'll be fine. I'm like, but actually I asked her, but is she okay? And she said, oh yeah, she's fine. She's doing good. She's very strong. I'm like, I was crying. I cried about her being okay, just like, thank you. At least she's okay. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna call you in when she's ready to wake up. I'm gonna call you in. And I'm like, okay, so that means she's still not really at the best moment because she's not even awake yet. So she's like, yeah, but I guess her they were monitoring her, so she's like, she's doing okay, she's good. And she's like, oh yeah, so we did have to do a hysterectomy. So then I was like, oh man. So Creta hysterectomy, and I was like, yeah, I know, the nurse told me before. And from there on, they invited me like 20 more minutes after. They called me in saying, okay, you're gonna come in. So in all reality, it took like 3 hours before I actually got to see her. Maybe 3.5 hours. And I finally saw her, and I saw her hooked up to everything. She has the tubes up her nose and everything. And I'm like, and then they asked me, do you want to carry the baby? Do you want to see the baby? And in all reality, that was a hard decision for me to make, because I didn't want to see my son like that. Like, I don't think I was strong enough to see him, you know, not alive. Like, that was probably one of the worst fears that I could ever imagine. And then, you know, they have him literally right next to us in the room. And they put like a blanket over him. I wasn't ready to hold him at the time. I was like, I'm not ready yet. You know, I just want to make sure my wife is okay. And then, you know, hopefully we'll talk about it and I'll make a decision after. And there were, by the way, everyone there, nurses, doctors, they were amazing.
Yeah, they really are.
They were so informative. They told us everything we needed to know. You know, even though it like took time, but that was because of all the trauma we were going through. They were very helpful throughout the whole time. She was okay. My wife was okay. And then she woke up.
And when I woke up, all I remember was how much pain I was in. And I felt like my throat was super dry. And I like tried to talk. And all I said was, do I still have my uterus? And she said, no. And then I said, where's my baby? And I guess he was in the room. She said, he's in the room. Because you weren't there yet.
No, I wasn't. No.
And then I feel like I might have fallen asleep again. And then when I woke up the second time, then you were there. And I saw the baby's little bed thing that they put him in.
Yeah, and I was like telling you, you're so strong, you're so brave.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
I don't. I think I was asleep still or something.
I was like, you're so strong, you're so brave, you did amazing. Then from there on, the nurse asked me, oh no, I was like, oh, they were taking pictures. So
of the baby.
Yeah, they were taking pictures of the baby.
They asked us beforehand, like before the surgery,
yeah.
Do you want pictures? Do you want like a blankie, a keepsake? And we said yes.
Yeah.
You know, whatever we could have to like keep of him if we wanted, you know?
So they were taking all that, and then, you know, finally I kind of like built up the courage to hold him at least. So I ended up holding him like basically
in the picture, yeah.
In the picture, and I held him like this.
And that's how small he was. And like you could literally carry him in your hands.
Yeah, and then literally when I saw his face and I saw everything, he looked so full. Like he looked like
perfectly formed.
Yeah, he was perfectly formed. He had literally everything. 10 toes, 10 fingers.
Big hands, big feet.
Big hands, big feet.
Perfect little nose.
Yeah,
like the most perfect nose I've ever seen.
I couldn't believe that he was not okay, because physically he looked great. Mm-hmm. You know, I was like, no way, this is true. I was like, he looks perfect. Why is he not alive? And that was even harder to do. It was just like to see him and know that he looked so cute, so perfect.
Like what could have been.
Like, yeah, like this was our third child that could have been here running around, and and I couldn't believe that we were not taking him home. Mm-hmm.
And that there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah. So, which is crazy, because this is around the time he would have been born.
Yeah, if we would have went the 34 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, God has a purpose, and even though we might not understand why we had to go through so much and then lose him, I don't know what we won't know till we meet again in heaven.
Yeah.
But at least after the surgery, it was so painful. But once we were wheeled back into the room, I was ready to hold him. I didn't hold him in the recovery room. I held him in our like room, and all I remember was just like smelling him. Like I could still smell him. Like if I think about it, I can smell him, and his little tiny face and his nose, and just kissing him. And I slept with him for we spent 2 days with him.
Yeah.
And just
we didn't want to let him go.
Yeah. I probably would have never let him go if he didn't like.
Yeah, because I had to literally talk her into like, okay, us keeping him here is not helping us cope with everything, and it's not really, it wasn't really helping us. Like the fact that we were seeing him, and then as time passes, he starts to get dry.
Yeah, his skin was getting like it started turning darker and everything. But I'm still so thankful that we had that time with him, because that's all the time we will ever have with him until we die.
Yeah.
And just we had a pastor come and pray over him, and sleeping with him, holding him, kissing him. Those 2 days, I'll never ever forget.
Yeah.
And it was obviously so hard, but at the same time, it's like I would never want to take that back. That's the only time we ever had with him.
And I literally was like, wow, like I really couldn't believe that she was doing that.
Yeah.
And it just showed me her strength, her like mental strength, her physical strength, everything, emotional, just to go through with that and like hold him like if he was alive. Really, it was like amazing to me, and I thought she was so brave for all that, and I really do commend you. And she really was the one that gave me the strength to be able to do the same, because I couldn't. It was like I couldn't actually deal with all that.
Yeah.
And showing her faith and her emotional power basically gave me so much more strength to be able to be like, okay, we do have our third child. He is gone, but he's forever in our memory, and we're always thankful. And we'll learn something in the future. Not even, I feel like we have learned something so far. Like right now, shows how strong we can really be.
Right.
How positive we could still be.
And I feel like in the end, it also just taught us to just put everything in God's hands and not try to take control, because we can't. We can't control it. So for me, it's like, as much as I wanted something, or I think I know what was best for me, or, for my baby, for our family, only God knows. So I totally just trust him 110%, even more now.
Yeah.
That's it. We said goodbye 2 days later, and he's just will forever be a part of us. We're still gonna celebrate him, and Camila and Evan will always know about him, and our family will always love him.
Yeah. And we do have his ashes, and
we do want to do a little ceremony, and pray for him always.
After the surgery, my wife did lose a lot of blood. They told us that on average, people who have hysterectomies or anything like that lose about 1 to 2 liters of blood, and my wife lost about 3 to 4 liters of blood. And your levels are supposed to be at 11, 12 as a healthy person. She was at a 6. It was a 6, 6.5, and that made her immunocompromised.
Right.
And continued on, we couldn't have any visitors.
Well, no, and then I had to have a blood transfusion.
She had to have a blood transfusion.
Right, before we left the hospital, because I was at a 6, they didn't let me leave.
Yeah.
And I had to have 2 units of blood transfused. And then I think the day after was when we came home.
Yeah.
So yeah, the day after the transfusion, we came home. And because I was immunocompromised, we couldn't have visitors or anything. So that makes it hard too, coping, coming home. But thank God my mom was here. And honestly, just being with Camila and Evan was everything we needed. Like, just holding them, kissing them, seeing them just made us so thankful. And it made me realize, like, why, God saved my life, but took Carter's life. Like, I have to be here for my kids. And it just put everything into perspective. So even though this was a horrible, horrible situation, I'm so thankful to God and to the doctors and everything that I'm still here. And that even though it was only for a short amount of time, Carter was here too.
Yeah. So we came home, immediately took a shower because we were at the hospital the whole time.
I mean, we showered while we were there, but
yeah, we showered.
We showered again.
Yeah, because with all this COVID stuff, we didn't want to risk our family here. And
showered, and then we talked to Camila right away.
Exactly.
Because they gave us so many good resources. Like, they gave us a teddy bear and the blanket that Carter was wrapped in. We got to take it home, and his little hat, and a book for Camila. So we read the book with her. We talked to her about what happened, and she took it so well. We were so surprised because, she was so excited.
Yes, she was.
For Carter. Oh, my goodness. And till this day, she sometimes says, like, oh, I feel sad because Carter's in heaven. But overall, she handled it so well.
Yeah. She says she has, dreams with him sometimes. Mm-hmm. We have this little teddy bear that they give us at the hospital. She was sleeping with him for almost every day.
Yeah, because it was a teddy bear that Carter was sitting, sleeping next to, in the pictures. So we gave it to her to take care of it, and she really loves it and takes care of it.
So she, like I said, like we said, she took it very well.
Yeah,
and we're glad that she did. Shows her strength as well. But
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
That's our story. And till this day, it was, each day gets, a little bit easier, but at the same time, there are moments. It's moments when you're just like, why? And, he would have been here. And I start thinking about Christmas, we thought we would have our little baby with us. And, it's just so many what ifs and how it could have been. And the most important thing that I do is just, I pray and I tell God that as long as, it's all his plans, and that's what I trust.
Yeah. What's crazy about it is how I took it is I'm a big basketball fan, so a lot of people know that. And it's crazy because he literally was 24 weeks, which is Kobe, 2 days, which is Gigi, and on the 8th of September, which is also Kobe. Well, 8th at least. So it was 24 to 8. And it was just representation. Kobe told God, hey, let me get that little man. He's going to be good at basketball. And he took him. And that's how I laugh about it and think about it. It's like Kobe took my son to play ball and do his starting five. And, that's how I cope with it a little bit more. Just because, I love basketball so much. So...
yeah, if you've stuck around and listened to all 3 parts, thank you so much for listening. This honestly is so good for us, and I hope that it helps someone who goes through this, because believe it or not, 1 in 4 women experience either miscarriage or stillbirth, and it's not really talked about, and I think it should be because it's real, and it still makes you a mother, and you still experience pregnancy and postpartum, and that was still your baby. So I definitely think it's something that needs to be talked about. And please, if anybody wants to talk about anything, has questions, please reach out. I am more than happy to answer any questions.
You can leave a comment or email us.
Yeah, or send me a DM, follow our IG, whatever you want to do. Yeah. I would love to talk to you.
Yes. And also, John Legend's wife was her name?
Yes, Chrissy Teigen. It's crazy that she experienced almost the same situation just a couple weeks ago too. So that's insane how common this is. But I feel like now with social media, obviously we can talk about it more. Yeah. And for me, you know, social media and YouTube and things like this are a coping mechanism. So I feel like it is good to talk about it and let it out if that's what you choose to do. Yeah. So, you know, to each their own, but thank you for listening and watching, and we love you guys so much.
And we'll see you on the next video. Hopefully, we'll change the dynamic and it'll be a little bit different. Yes. We'll get back to our normal life.
Yes. So, we're actually going on vacation to New York on Friday. So, we're definitely going to vlog that. So, stay tuned for some traveling vlogs.
Yes. Yes. It's much needed because we haven't seen our family in a long time. My side of the family in New York. Yes. So we're so happy.
So excited. Pray for us because we are going, you know, during COVID times. So pray for safe travels, and also we're traveling with Evan. So that's gonna be really hard to keep him sitting down on the plane for 3 hours.
Yeah. So we're gonna spend Thanksgiving over there, and you know, get back to well, not that we're not happy. We are happy. We are blessed more than anything. But just see some family.
Change of scenery.
Yeah,
and definitely we miss our family so much. Yes. It's been over a year.
Yes.
So excited about it.
So stay tuned for that, guys. All right? So like I said, we love you guys. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. And we'll see you on the next video. Peace.
Skirt. Where are you going? You're gonna play? Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Don't need someone to say